Hello, I want to thank you for clicking on my channel. I'm PI187, and today I'll be reacting to 33, ranking 33 British cities from worst to best. This comes from the channel called Traveling with Con. I'm not sure if that stands for Connor or what it stands for, but that's what it's called. And, yeah, I'd like to see what someone considers to be the best and the worst cities in Britain. Um, this is his own interpretation of it, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm not sure how old. I think this video is only like 6 months old, so it doesn't go back too far. That it should be relevant today. And all right, let's do this.
As a British citizen, I have travelled extensively throughout the UK. I have been to the majority of the major cities in the country. And so in this video, I'm going to rank 33 British towns and cities, from 33rd being the worst to 1st being my favourite. Now, before I do get into the list, just a few things to bear in mind. Firstly, do not get offended if your hometown or city is low down on the list. Do not take offence. I do have many subscribers who are from the UK, so if you are from one of the lower ranked cities in my list, do not get offended. It's just a bit of fun.
I don't imagine you'd get offended anyways. If your town's not that great, I'm pretty sure you know. Like, I know my town. I live in a little town in Canada, little city, I guess, and it's been ranked as one of the worst towns or cities in Canada. Something like 15 years ago or something, it was in, I think, third most crime in all of Canada on Maclean's magazine. And then my daughter was telling me on some TikTok thing that it was ranked as one of the top 10 worst cities in Canada. And yeah, I've always known my town's not the greatest by any means. It is what it is, But anyhow, let's check this out.
And it's just my opinion as well. Secondly, do feel free to let me know in the comments some of your favourite cities in the UK, and also do let me know some of your least favourite places in the country. Please.
And I'll leave a link in the comments down below, or in my description or whatever, so that if somebody wants to come leave a comment on this guy's page about what his ranking is, then you can. That's pretty cool. That fish wrapped around this pole, that looks neat. Yeah. Where is this? That looks like a Shrek's. I see Shrek over here, then they got Shrek right here. But anyhow. Alright,
please do let me know if you do agree with anything I say, or conversely, if you do disagree with anything I say. Please do let me know. We can have a little bit of a debate in the comment section, but it's really important that we do keep things civil in the comment section. Please, let's not insult each other or use any bad language or anything like that. Let's just have a civil debate in the comment section if we do have any disagreements. And thirdly, just a little bit of promotion that I need to do before I get into the list. If you do go to the description, click onto the top link, it will take you to the Safety Wing Swindon.
So my apologies
if you are from Swindon, but I'm gonna have to say that Swindon.
So Swindon is gonna be bottom of the list. And is this Swindon here he's showing?
Is my least favourite place that I have been to so far in the UK. Now, just to re-emphasise, this clip in the video that you're seeing right now, this is not Swindon, this is London, but I don't have any footage or any photos or anything from Swindon. And quite frankly, I don't think you would want to take any photos or any videos of Swindon.
Well, I would like to know what it kind of looks like, yeah, because if you're going to rank it last on the list, you should at least show us so we can agree or disagree whether it's a shithole or not. Come inside for culture, find something you love. Oh, look at all that rainbow.
Because there's nothing to do, nothing to see. There's this really ugly grey skyscraper in the middle of town, but apart from that, it's pretty uninteresting. I don't see any reason why you would want to go to Swindon, so I think you can avoid Swindon. You can probably avoid the 32nd city in my list as well, and city number 32 is Coventry. Now, the reason why I went to Coventry is because I actually was visiting Warwick University on an open day, so I had a little look around Coventry. Since Warwick University is located just on the outskirts of Coventry, and from what I saw of the actual city of Coventry itself, yeah, I wasn't too impressed. It doesn't look very nice. It was bombed very heavily in the Second World War, so all of the architecture is very, very ugly. The train station looked very...
I really hope this video isn't him just walking around London the whole time giving his top 33. I'd like to see what these towns look like so I can kind of give my opinion, because I don't really know them. And yeah, but maybe he's just not showing the last two.
Very creepy. I'm going to give Coventry the edge over Swindon just because Coventry is a bigger city than Swindon, and at least in Coventry you're very nearby places like Leamington Spa, which I haven't been to by the way, but I've heard it's very nice, and also the town of Warwick itself, and also Birmingham, so it's quite well connected to other nearby places. But the actual city of Coventry itself, again, not really nice in my opinion. And now that leads me on to the 31st place in my list, and this here is the town of Weston-super-Mare. And as you can see here, I do actually have some photos from Weston-super-Mare. Well, what can I say about Weston-super-Mare? Not really much to do. They do have a beach, I guess, so that's a positive in the summer, but it wasn't really a sunny day on the day that I went. As I'm sure you can imagine, most coastal towns and cities outside of sunny days are not really great places to be. The town itself...
How can a town with a beach like that be 31 on the list? I guess there's a lot of beaches probably over there though, isn't there? But that doesn't look too bad from this picture, but I could be wrong.
It was a bit run down, a bit neglected, but I do vaguely remember that I went to this cafe and I had a nice hot chocolate, so I guess that was a positive. So I'm going to give Weston-super-Mare the edge over Coventry. And now number 30 in my list is the city of Plymouth. Now, when I went, the city centre just felt empty, it felt neglected. The architecture is pretty ugly. Definitely one of the most ugly and eerie city centres that I've ever had the pleasure of visiting. The reason why I will give the edge to Plymouth over Weston-super-Mare is because in Plymouth you do have this nice kind of marina area where you've got some cafes and some restaurants. If you did remove this nice little marina area from the city, then yeah, Plymouth would be pretty damn bad. But because it is located on the coast, you do get some nice seafood. I had this seafood stew or soup at one of the restaurants there, so again, I guess that's a small positive. Now, the 29th city in the list is Dundee in Scotland. So why do I think Dundee is better than Plymouth? Well, I guess the city centre does have some nice-ish architecture. The architecture, I would say, in Dundee is actually nicer than Plymouth. You can walk along the River Tay. You actually get some nice views when you walk along the river. You've got the bridge in the background. But yeah,
that
not
bridge
gonna
is
lie,
pretty cool.
This place did give me the creeps. Dundee is known to be a bit of a rough and tough city, and yeah, I did certainly get that vibe walking around the place. Dundee is actually the city in Scotland with the biggest support for Scottish independence, so if you are an Englishman, just keep your mouth shut and don't really cause any problems. Oh, and also, if you are walking around the city centre, you will see this statue of a cartoon character called Desperate Dan. Well, not gonna lie, if my name was Dan and if I was from Dundee, I'd be a pretty desperate Dan too. Now, sadly for my Scottish subscribers sticking in Scotland, number 28 on the list is Stirling. Sadly, it's not as sterling as what the name would suggest, but it's nice enough. I guess you have some nice architecture in the city centre. It's just that it's incredibly quiet, or at least when I went. It's not ugly per se, but it's certainly not an exciting...
And what's wrong with quiet? That looks pretty nice to me. Looks like a smaller town. Nice mountains in the background. The only bad thing to say about this is it was quiet. I don't see how that was a disadvantage, putting it down on the list.
Place to be. But you can go to Stirling Castle. You get some nice views of the Scottish countryside. And whilst you are at Stirling Castle, you'll get to see this statue
Robert
of
the
Robert the Bruce, the lad back in the day who defeated the English army and hence gained
all
independence
by
for
himself.
Scotland. And now then, number 27 in my list of cities is Sheffield. Now the reason why I will give the edge to Sheffield over Stirling is just because I feel that Sheffield is slightly more vibrant, slightly more exciting than Stirling. But to be honest with you, Sheffield, in my opinion, is not a very pretty place. It is a student city, so there are a lot of young people about, especially during term time, and there's also decent nightlife as well. But the city centre is certainly not easy on the eye, very similar to the likes of Plymouth and Coventry, where you walk around and you feel to yourself, oh, it's not the best. But if you like, you can check out the Crucible Theatre. It's where the World Championship Snooker takes place, so if you are a bit of a snooker fan, you may want to take the pilgrimage up to Sheffield to see the Crucible. Now next on the list, number 26 is Salisbury, and unfortunately I don't have any photos or video footage of Salisbury. Now the city centre of Salisbury is actually quite nice.
How does he not... Why wouldn't you just grab some up offline? Even just a few pictures so we have something to reference to.
You have some nice historic architecture. And a little fact for you, Salisbury Cathedral actually does have the highest cathedral spire in the entire country. And also a lot of people stay in Salisbury in order to go to Stonehenge because you're only a 20-30 minute drive away from Stonehenge, so it's a great place to use as a base to visit Stonehenge. I actually don't think I've ever been to Stonehenge, but what I will do is I will drop a link in the comments section and also the description too, where you can actually purchase a tour of Stonehenge if you are interested in that. But the city of Salisbury itself, I mean, it's a nicer city than Sheffield, but it's not very exciting. There's not really much going on other than looking at the cathedral. So yeah, that's why it's pretty low down on the list. So now city number 25 on the list is Bournemouth. Actually, sorry, I think it's a town. Well, regardless of whether it's a city or a town, Bournemouth, as I'm sure you may be aware, does have a beach, so a lot of people do go there in the summer. It's quite lively and vibrant in the summer. You do have lots of shops about and a shopping centre too. But if we do forget the beach and if we do forget nice weather, the town itself, in my opinion, is pretty depressing, like so many towns in the UK. It would certainly be lower down the list if there were no beach, but I guess there is a beach, so I guess we're just talking in hypotheticals now. It's like saying if your aunt had a 12-inch piece of meat, would she be your uncle? Who knows and who cares? And now city number 24 is Birmingham, the UK's second largest city. So I think Birmingham is better than Bournemouth just because you have some interesting architecture in the city centre. I mean, you've got the Boring shopping centre, which is great for shopping, and as you can see here on the screen, the Boring centre does have this kind of futuristic alien-like architecture. And also I must say that Birmingham New Street train station is one of the most modern and fancy train stations in the entire country. You do have some impressive architecture, some impressive buildings, some statues. I think that's Queen Victoria there, do correct me if I'm wrong. It's of course a very vibrant place because you do have lots of restaurants and bars and nightlife, but the reason why I rank it quite low in this list is just because yeah, it's quite a sketchy place. As soon as you leave the Boring shopping centre area and the main high street, yeah, it does look quite ugly, to be honest. It didn't feel too safe at night when I was walking about, and it's not really somewhere that I would like to live. It's decent for shopping and some food, but that's about it. Now, city number 23 is...
Well, that wasn't very nice, was it? That building looks like it used up a lot of concrete to make.
Southampton. Now I must say that Southampton is another one of these very ugly cities that was destroyed very heavily in the war, so a lot of the architecture that you see in the city does look pretty horrific. So you're probably looking at these clips here thinking, my lord, this looks absolutely horrific, this awful brutalist style architecture. So the reason why I will give...
I personally think it looks pretty neat, to be honest, because I like those old buildings, but it's not for everybody, I guess.
Southampton the edge over Birmingham is just because I think Southampton is a little bit safer. Birmingham can feel quite sketchy. It is a relatively vibrant city. It is a student city,
so this guy's also talking about what do you find with the city towns, not just has to do with looks, has to do with like how safe and sketchy and scary the towns are to them, which I guess I get, because like I said, my town was ranked in Maclean's magazine, like I think 3rd. This is like 15 years ago or something, though. It's gotten better. was ranked third in Canada for the highest crime rate compared to the people here, which like is pretty bad. At like not like you've got Toronto, and it's about 2 hours away from me, and it's pretty well known for a lot of shit going on, and yet my little tiny town per person had a way higher crime rate. But there was a there was a time when you really couldn't even walk downtown in my town, and they've changed that now. It's so much better. But yeah, either the probably the early 2000s, I'd say. Maybe, yeah, I'd say probably early 2000s. Um, it was just there was a lot of crime down there. You were too worried to if you walked down there, you're probably going to get robbed. Um, it was bad, but the cops cleaned it all up. They threw cameras everywhere down there, and they just they got rid of all of it, and now it's nothing compared to what it was.
There are some bars that you can go to at the weekend. There is also a museum called the Sea City Museum.
That just said above bar church. Ooh, that's weird. A church above a bar. You wouldn't think that they'd do that, but anyhow.
Bars that you can go to at the weekend. There is also a museum called the Sea City Museum, which is kind of a Titanic museum. If you didn't know, the Titanic actually set sail.
Yeah, that's something I learned when I started watching these videos. I think the first video I watched, maybe the second video I watched, I learned about the Titanic was built over there and obviously started its voyage there. Because for some reason, I don't know, even though I was like really obsessed as a kid, I didn't learn much history. I more cared about like the thing, like looking at the pictures and learning about like what happened to it, and what it looks like now, and all the pictures they've got of like the ship at the bottom of the ocean and how they think it happened and yada yada yada. But I never ever got into the background of like where it came from. I just assumed, being the biggest, best ship of all time, it would have came from the USA, who always claims they make the biggest and best of everything. And nope, it didn't. It came from over there in Britain. So, shows what I knew.
From Southampton. So now, city number 20.
But yeah, checking out that Titanic museum would be really awesome. I would be totally for that. And we're in now, what, 22? Is that Nottingham? That's a nice building.
2 is Nottingham.
Like it has some
the
history.
Architecture here is certainly better than the architecture in Southampton, and I would say that it is a more lively place, more of a student atmosphere, because Nottingham is one of the biggest student cities in the entire country. It certainly does have lots of bars and clubs and restaurants.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was thinking of when I said Nottingham too. I'm like, that sounds really familiar. That's, yeah, Robin Hood. Roam the streets of Nottingham back in the day. Huh. Was he a real person at one time? Like, or just a total made up fictional character? Because as far as I knew, I always thought of him just as a fictional character. But it's saying Robin Hood roamed the streets of Nottingham back in the day, so I don't know. Maybe he was a real person.
But one of the reasons why I'm not ranking it so highly is because the city centre can feel quite sketchy. I saw multiple fights break out in the middle of a day in the city centre. I would not recommend walking down dodgy side streets, especially late at night, because it doesn't feel the safest. Just keep your wits about you and you should be fine, but it definitely does feel like a rough and ready kind of city. And if you are lucky like me, you may get to even see some random robots walking around the city. No idea what that was about, but there we go.
Pretty
And now
cool.
city number 21 is another city where I don't have any footage or any pictures, sadly, but 21 is Portsmouth. You actually have some cool things to do in Portsmouth. You can go up the Spinnaker Tower. If you just Google Portsmouth, you'll see the Spinnaker Tower. It's like the most iconic structure in the city. You can go and see the remains of the Mary Rose ship, which was the warship used by Henry VIII to fight against the French back in the day. You can do some shopping and eat some food at Gunwharf Quays, the outdoor shopping centre. You can also go down to Southsea Beach in the summer. There's also an aquarium there you can visit. So I think it's better than Nottingham because there are some interesting things to do. But similar to Nottingham, there is this kind of unsafe feeling that you get in the city because again, it does feel a bit sketchy in areas. Now, number 20 on my list is Chester. Now, the reason why I'm going to rank Chester higher than Portsmouth is because Chester does have nicer architecture, as you can see here.
Yeah,
you have lots of medieval and Tudor.
These black and white buildings here, these are really nice. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad at all. Looks like it has some history to it.
They have a nice cathedral up there. And if you are into your horse racing, perhaps you can take a little trip to the Chester race courses to watch some horses run around if that's your thing. The reason why I'm not rating Chester higher is just because it is a little small for my liking, and this Tudor style black and white architecture does get a little boring after a while. It's just not as dynamic and as exciting as some other places in the UK. And now city number 19 in my list is the city of Norwich. Very similar to Chester in the sense that it is a smaller city with a kind of relaxed atmosphere. The only reason why I would rank Norwich...
Sorry if it's bothering you that I'm repeating these names. I'm just trying to learn how to pronounce them myself too at the same time because I'm really terrible at pronouncing these areas and names over there.
Higher than Chester is just because of the buildings. The buildings are a bit more colourful, a bit more vivid. I do like colourful architecture, so I just give the edge to Norwich in that regard because it is a more colourful city. But to be honest with you, there isn't much to split Norwich with Chester. Very similar cities, very similar relaxed vibes, lots of cafes and cute little shops that you can go to. But again, Norwich is not really one of those cities that really excited me.
So it looks like, what, are they doing some construction on that Norwich Castle? They got it all blocked off with this barrier all the way around it, so you can't see it, get a very good, probably can't go in and see it. But that looks pretty sweet. It's really square looking though, eh? Like for a castle. But still neat as could be.
Me, it's not a place that I really have much desire to return to. And now number 18 on my list is Exeter, and to be honest, I can't really split Norwich with Exeter, to be honest. Again, they're two very similar places. I mean, I guess Norwich and Exeter could swap places, but I think I'll give the edge to Exeter just because I think there may be just a little more atmosphere in Exeter, but perhaps that's just because of the days in which I went to both places. I mean, Exeter does have a nice cathedral, as you can see on the screen there. In the summer, you can walk along the river and get an ice cream, get some food, so that's a nice thing to do. And like Norwich, Exeter does have a castle too. Now, number 17 on my list is Winchester. Now, perhaps I am being a little biased because I did study in Winchester for sixth form college, but it is a really nice place. Now, I'm not usually a small city guy, but because Winchester is very compact and centres around one high street, it means that that one high street is very busy, very buzzing, lots of cafes, restaurants, bars, pubs about. I sadly didn't take many pictures of Winchester when I was a sixth form student, so we only really have these two pictures here, but Winchester was the former capital city of Wessex, so it's where King Alfred the Great ruled Wessex from, so you can see his statue here in the city. The reason why I don't rank it higher is because Winchester is just a little too small for me, so you can feel a bit claustrophobic there. So now number 16 in my list is Oxford, and Oxford is kind of like Winchester but just 4 times the size.
Does Oxford not have a university or something? The University of Oxford? That seems familiar. Sounds familiar. That building looks pretty sweet. I really like these spiky things on the top. That looks real crazy. A lot of work involved there.
and 4 times more vibrant. As I'm sure many of you know, Oxford is home to Oxford University, which is the oldest university in the English-speaking world and one of the most famous universities, period, in the world. So even though Oxford isn't a massive city at all,
the only thing
it's
I know
extremely
about
cosmopolitan.
Oxford.
You'll see people from all over the world, students from all over the world, academics, researchers from everywhere. The reason why I'm not ranking it high is just because I didn't really click with Oxford as I clicked with many other places in the UK. It is nice, the architecture is nice, but it's just not really a city that I vibe with. It doesn't really feel like a fun place. It does feel like...
How can you rank something from worst to best on your personal vibes? You should be ranking it on, you know, I thought this was kind of like more like how it looks, what it actually is, not the vibes. That kind of seems a little narrow-minded, I'd say.
Like a very serious and sometimes overcrowded place. And now back up to Scotland.
Yeah, I'm not much for ordering for crowd neither, but doesn't mean I'm gonna say the place is a shithole. If it's got some really nice stuff, it's probably overcrowded because there is nice stuff there, you'd think. That looks pretty neat. The broken down, was that a cathedral or castle?
For my 15th favourite place in the UK, up to the town of St Andrews.
Oh wow,
You've got
look at
lovely
that. That's quite the tower, just sitting there by itself, with all smashed up. Let's back up a little bit here.
Favourite place in the UK, up to the town of St Andrews. You've got lovely architecture within the town itself.
Neat.
It's located by the coast. You have really lovely coastline. You have lovely beaches that you can go and check out in the summer, and I must say the beaches here do have a nicer backdrop than the beaches in Bournemouth. Now again, I must say that the town is a little small for my liking, to be brutally honest, but because it is such a beautiful place and because the architecture is lovely, the coastline's lovely, it is one of the higher ranked cities in this list, in my opinion. Well, actually, I should say town, not city.
It's the birthplace of
next
golf.
at number 14 is the city of
true?
Newcastle. The reason I will rank Newcastle above St Andrews is because Newcastle is a more dynamic city, it's a larger city, a more vibrant place, even though St Andrews is certainly a more beautiful place than Newcastle. However, that being said, you certainly do have some nice Georgian architecture, as you can see here in the city of Newcastle. It's a very compact and lively city. You've got lots of shops, lots of bars. You even have a metro system as well, which is pretty uncommon for cities and towns in the UK to have. So you can actually take the metro to the beach in the summer in the northeast. The thing about Newcastle is that it is known as a party city. Lots of people say it has very good nightlife, and it does have decent nightlife. There are lots of bars, lots of pubs, lots of clubs about in the town, but I wouldn't say it's outstanding nightlife. It's certainly not the best nightlife in the world. Newcastle is also a football mad city as well, so definitely check out St James's Park. But I must say, I do feel horribly sorry for Alan Shearer having this absolute monstrosity of a statue built for him. He looks like an absolute alien in this statue here, but oh well. And now number 13 in the list is the capital city of Wales, Cardiff. Now I personally do think that Newcastle is a more fun place than Cardiff, but I must say that because Cardiff is a capital city, there are more touristy things to do in Cardiff compared with somewhere like Newcastle, for example. You can visit Cardiff Castle, you can go to the Wales National Museum, you can go down to Cardiff Bay. There are lots of restaurants, bars and shops there. You can also check out the Millennium Centre if you're into performing arts, and of course you have the Principality Stadium, which was formerly called the Millennium Stadium, and it hosts a lot of sporting events. It's not a particularly big city, but because it is a capital city, it does punch above its weight, so it is a cool place to check out. It isn't one of my absolute favourite places because it's not the most pretty place you'll see in the UK, but it is a vibrant place, so it's worth checking out. Number 12 is Leeds. Now, from a tourist perspective, Cardiff does have more things to do than Leeds, but I just personally prefer Leeds. I like the architecture in Leeds. I quite like the way that the city centre is laid out. You can also do some shopping at the Trinity Centre shopping centre, and also Leeds is known as one of the biggest student cities in the UK, so there is a very good nightlife in Leeds too. It can get a tad boring after a while because there isn't too much to do other than go shopping, eat food, drink and go out. But yeah, it's decent enough, so I think ranking Leeds 12th is pretty fair. And now number 11 is Lincoln. I really like Lincoln. It's a really nice city, very medieval, very historic. You've got one of the nicest cathedrals in the entire country, in my opinion, there. You've got lots of pubs, lots of bars, lots of restaurants, lots of shops. You've also got Lincoln Castle that you can check out as well. Lots of historic
that's
streets.
cool.
I do think Lincoln
That's not the whole castle, though, is it? Right there? If it is, it's a pretty small castle.
is quite underrated. Not many people really visit. It isn't that big, so you don't need more than 2 days in the city. So it's a cool weekend break that you can do. As you can see here in the clips, it is a very nice city. And now finally we have reached the top 10, and city number 10 is Brighton. Brighton is very vibrant, very
I live close to a Brighton.
colourful. Definitely go and check out the lanes area where you have lots of these coloured houses, coloured shops everywhere. You'll find lots of pubs, lots of bars, lots of restaurants, lots of shops. If you're interested in seeing some interesting architecture, you can definitely check out the Royal Pavilion. And of course, Brighton is famous for its beach. Unfortunately, I don't actually have any clips of the beach, but do be aware that it is a stone pebble beach and not a sandy beach. It is a cool day trip that you can do from London, especially in the summer, but do be aware in the summer it can get very, very overcrowded in Brighton. The town itself isn't very big, so it can get very crowded. And now we get up to the 9th best city in my list, and that is Glasgow. Now, like pretty much everywhere else in the UK, I definitely recommend you go to Glasgow in the summer, because I went in both winter and summer and the contrast was very stark. In the winter it was very grey and miserable, but in the summer the city really did come to life. You have really nice historic architecture in the city. It's Scotland's biggest city. You do have lots of shopping, lots of culture, lots of restaurants, bars. There is a very young and creative atmosphere in the city. Now, I'm not personally into art galleries, but you can go to the Kelvingrove Art Gallery, which is one of the most famous art galleries in Scotland. You do get a lot of festivals and concerts in Glasgow in the summer. The nightlife scene in Glasgow is really good as well, and people from Glasgow, Glaswegians, are some of the friendliest people in the entire United Kingdom. They really are friendly. They have a very good sense of humour, so you will have fun up there. There is a little cheesy slogan around the city that says "People make Glasgow," and to be fair, it is pretty accurate in my opinion. Now, the city does have a bit of a reputation as being quite dangerous, but honestly, if you keep to the city centre and keep your wits about you, as the Glaswegians would say, you should be fine. And now, my 8th best city in the UK is Liverpool. Liverpool is very, very similar to Glasgow, so it's actually very hard to split both places, but like Glasgow, it's a really vibrant place. Loads of bars, loads of restaurants, loads of shops. You've got lots of art galleries, lots of museums, lots of entertainment venues. Again, you definitely want to come in the summer months, June, July, August. That's when the weather will be best. That's when the city will be at its most vibrant. You'll find lots of nightlife as well.
So is that the city the Beatles came from, was Liverpool? Because the statues there make me think that anyway, but that could just be because they're from Britain, period, and they just have them in that town. But I would assume that that's the city they started in.
You can go to an area called Concert Square, which is full of pubs, bars, clubs, everything that you need. There's also an area called Matthew Street as well, which is full of pubs and bars too. And again, Liverpool is a city which does have a bit of a reputation for crime, so again, be careful, keep your wits about you.
He says a lot of these towns have a lot of crime. That's kind of crazy. There's so much, like, he said one town he saw a bunch of people beating each other up, which is kind of crazy. And then, yeah, you just mentioned, like, different cities, you got to stay to certain areas or, have to worry about the crime. And it's like, is the crime really that bad over there? Like I said, my town was rated like third, something like 15 years ago or more. Um, and yeah, it was bad for a while, but now, like, I wouldn't be scared to walk. Now, I live in a small town too. It's not like super small, but it's not Toronto, that's for sure. Um, but yeah, I'd have no fear or I don't have any fear of walking anywhere, going anywhere in my town. But the reality is, I don't really have any fear of, like, say, going to Toronto either. And Toronto's known for a little bit of crime, enough anyways, because it's a big city. But I'm sure there are probably some areas in Toronto you might not want to wander through. But at the same time, I wouldn't. My daughter was going to school there for a while, and I went down and visited her, and we went wandering. I never even had a second thought about worrying about like anything happening. Um, but yeah, maybe we just don't have as many. Like we're. I'm not sure. It's just yeah, a little weird. All right, let's get on with this.
Don't walk down any dodgy side streets or don't walk alone late at night in dark areas. So just keep your eyes open and you should be fine. And now my 7th best city in the UK is Bath. Now from an architecture perspective, Bath probably...
We also have a town nearby named Bath. Well, he called it Bath, but ours is Bath. Spelt the same though.
Is the nicest...
It's got a prison in it.
Looking city in the entire country in my opinion. You have extremely nice Georgian architecture all throughout the city. Bath Abbey is one of the most impressive.
When I used to do fence, talking about Bath, not Bath, but Bath here, I put fence up at most of the prisons around here. There's a lot in Kingston. I did most of them. One in Bath. Mainly all the surrounding areas. If there's a jail or a prison at some point, because it's like I think I was doing fence for like 15 years or something, maybe longer. We'd get stuck going and putting up fence there, which I did not care for, because they treated us like we were the criminals. Right? Like they went through our stuff, they frisked us, they checked out our entire vehicle. And then when you go inside, you're on lockdown with everybody else. You're not allowed to smoke cigarettes. Now, I smoked back then. I don't smoke now. It's been like probably 5 or 6 years since I quit. But you weren't allowed to bring your smokes in, so you couldn't, if you were working all day, you weren't allowed to smoke all day because they wouldn't. Now, depending on maybe the foreman, some of the foremans at lunchtime would push and ask one of the guards to let us out of the prison and take us out. They'd have to guide us through the whole entire prison and, take our truck and everything outside to just be able to have a smoke at lunch. But some of them wouldn't even bother. They're just like, I'm not wasting my time, so you guys are going smokeless all day. Which, that wasn't fun. But it wasn't even just the non-smoking thing that wasn't fun. It was, the mesh was so heavy. Like, the chain link that we would put up there, it was probably as thick as my baby finger. I think it was 13 feet tall, the mesh, and then you would run Constantine wire, which is, some people might know as razor wire, but we called it Constantine wire, across the top, and it, like, if it just touched you, like you had to wear great big long welding gloves to deal with it, and you had to, like, it'd be all crushed together, so you had to rip it all apart and shake it all around and get it all on top of the barbed wire, because you'd run like 6 strands of barbed wire kind of in a V shape, and then you would hang from both sides Constantine wire and then 1 or 2 right down the middle of it. And if it touched you at all, you were bleeding. Like, it cut through you like warm butter. It's insane. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. I was probably, whenever I'd show up to work and they're like, you're going to the prison today, I'd just be like, oh, I just should have stayed home.
Churches in the entire country. It's an incredibly safe place. There's not really much that I can fault Bath with, but what I will say is that it is quite small, so you can get a bit bored, I guess. Now in 6th place, another similar city to Bath with fantastic architecture, it is Cambridge. Cambridge again is one of the most beautiful places in the entire country. I mean, look at the architecture here. It's a lovely place. I don't want to sound cheesy, but there is something like magical about the city. Just walking around all the colleges, seeing all the university buildings, the grand architecture. I just love walking along all the cobbled streets. You've got loads of cafes, bars, pubs, restaurants. restaurants. I really do like Cambridge. I do think it is the best day trip to do from London if you are going to take a day trip from London, in my opinion. I know it's a bit of an oxymoron, but it's really chilled yet really vibrant at the same time. I really do like Cambridge. And now that leads me to my 5th favourite city in the UK, which is the capital, London. Now, from a tourist perspective, if you are from outside the UK and if you can only visit one city in the UK, it certainly does have to be London. I mean, London has everything that you need. Of course, all of the famous tourist attractions, lots of restaurants, lots of cafes, lots of bars, lots of districts, lots of nightlife, lots of different areas that you can explore. I mean, it is a truly international city, so it definitely is a world city. Now, of course, I'm not going to list out all of the things you can do in London because I'd be here all day, but what I will say is definitely make sure you check out Camden Market.
That's pretty cool. Does that
But what I will say is definitely make sure you check out
Is that there year round? The Ferris wheel? That's pretty sweet. It's a big Ferris wheel. Yeah, I imagine that gets a lot of tourists. Remember to check out Camden, Borough Market, and Primrose Hill. Okay.
Camden Market. Definitely make sure you check out Borough Market and also go to Primrose Hill to get some nice views all across the city. The reason why it's not my...
I got a story about primroses too. I used to live, when I lived on a farm, I know I talk a lot and I get rambling on, but that's the ADHD. When I lived on a farm, we had a primrose field next to us. And I remember the farmer hired me and my brother because he had to run his machine through the primrose to take all the primrose out. It's a certain plant. But it was probably 10 weeds, 10 big weeds, thorn bushes, just everything to every primrose plant in his field. So the first year, I was probably about 16, 17 at the time. My brother's a year younger than me. And we never got allowance. We weren't allowed to ever really got money. We grew up really poor. So when we were offered the job to cut down all the weeds in his entire field, we're like, sure, we'd love to do that. You know what I mean? Like, we worked for free all the time on the farm. So, hey, I'm getting paid for something. Awesome. And I'd say me and my brother spent probably almost 2 months cutting down everything in that field. Like, we were working after school, at night, whenever we possibly could. And we were using hatchets and butcher knives to cut down these, like, they had stalks that were like this big around on some of these weeds, right? Because they just overgrown the entire field. So we sat there and we had to cut them all down and then drag them all off the field so that he could run his machine through it. And when we were all done, he handed me and my brother $30 each. And we ended up, he owned the store down the road, and we ended up spending the $30 each at the store on baseball cards, because that's what we were into at that time. That was a thing back in the day. People would buy baseball cards. They don't do that anymore. And not like they did back then anyways. I'm not saying you still can't buy them, it's just not as normal. Like all the kids in my school and class, and we were all doing it, trading, collecting. You know, if you were from back then, you'd remember. But anyhow, yeah, $30, $30 each, $60 total for months of labor, just killing ourselves. And I wasn't happy. And then the next year, he comes and asks us again, and we're like, okay, yeah, we'll do it, because we really, really wanted the money, because like I said, never had any money. So yeah, and we went over and worked for about half a day, and the weeds were probably almost 10 times worse than they were from the previous year. And we're just like, no, we're not doing this. So we went and told them, yeah, we don't want to do this anymore. We quit, and that was that. Like, because I wasn't about to do that for another $30. It just would have been a slap in the face. But I know I get off subject sometimes because they mention the word Primrose, and then I start talking about a story that has nothing to do with the town of Primrose, but that's just how my silly little brain works. Anyhow, let's get back to this.
Number one is because, yeah, you do have to be careful, especially in the suburbs with crime, and also it is very...
Back to the crime thing. Every town here got crime, do they, big time, or what's going on with this? Or is he just being judgmental? Is it really that bad?
very expensive, the most expensive place in the country, and people can be quite rude as well in London. And now then, my
That was number 5. Oh, you gotta watch out for the crime, and people are pretty rude here. I noticed that, like, back talking about rudeness, yeah, I probably have to agree with that, because some of my worst comments back when I first started reacting, I did a lot of reaction to like American stuff, and then I did like Philomena Conk, which is obviously UK or British, and um, a lot of my worst comments came on the Philomena Conk videos. Just people being asses for the sake of being asses, just saying asshole shit for no reason, just to be a dick. And I'm just like, wow. And like I always heard, like, you know, Americans, they're the real assholes. But the videos I did with the stuff from over there, I didn't get a whole lot of hate and a lot of ignorant comments from them. And I actually had 2 people from over there back when I first started my channel call me a stupid American. And one guy called me a stupid American. Another one called me, said, oh, just what we need, another dumbass American reaction channel. And in one of the videos, the one I think he called me, the one where he said, just we need another stupid, dumb reaction, American dumb reaction channel, I was wearing this shirt during that video. I don't imagine a lot of Americans wear shirts with Canada flags on them, because they just wouldn't. Unless, I guess, maybe they were going abroad and they wanted to steal some of that, hey, I'm Canadian, and people are nicer to them because people don't like Americans too much, in a lot of places, so I hear. But yeah, I wouldn't be just sitting here wearing my Canadian shirt if I was an American reacting to stuff. And anyhow, so both those comments, I said to the one guy, I said, no, I'm not a stupid American, I'm a stupid Canadian. And he deleted his comment, so it's gone now. Because he was like, I guess, embarrassed that, you know, he tried to insult me by calling me American, found I was Canadian, was like, oh, geez, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, you know. And then, yeah, the other one, too, I told him, like, you know, obviously, you didn't look at my shirt, or you would have realized I'm not American, I'm Canadian. And he also deleted his comment. So it kind of seems like, yeah, the UK doesn't like the USA a whole lot. And yeah, I sometimes, because I live pretty close to America, I'm just on the other side of the water, probably sound a lot like Americans half the time, unless I, you know, say, hey, you know what I mean, eh? And then, you know, that kind of gives it away. And I'm sure some of the stuff I might say does, but we do speak a lot alike, unless you may, like, there are some other parts of Canada where the accents are really, really crazy, like Newfoundland. You ever listen to a Newfie? Holy jumpins. I used to work with one. I could barely understand half the things he said to me. I would literally just start laughing in his face because I couldn't even grasp the words he was saying. It was so bad. His accent was so thick. But anyhow, yeah, I don't even know how. See, my brain, I don't even know where I started talking about here. But anyhow, oh yeah, the rudeness. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, most of the bad comments I've gotten have probably been from over there. But it is what it is, you know. It's the internet. You're always gonna end up with a-holes fucking in your comments section. I'll probably even end up with a few on this video. Who knows? Anyhow, let's get on with it.
4th favourite city in the UK is York. If you had to paint a picture of what a quintessential English town would look like, or if you got artificial intelligence to do it for you, it would probably be York. It is a beautiful city. It's quite small, but it's not too small, but it's not too big. It's kind of like the perfect size.
It's not too small, but it's not too big. It's just the perfect size. That's a little bit of a weird. It's not too big and it's not too small. What is the perfect size of a city? I had a guy. I now cut grass for a living. I've been doing that for not for I wouldn't say for a living, but it's what I'm doing right now, anyways. I started cutting grass last year. My best friend bought a grass cutting business. I used to build fence with him, and then I built fence for him. He started a fence business, and then I'd always been talking about when I get older, I want to buy a grass cutting company, and that's what I want to do for my retirement job is just run my own grass cutting company. Well, he went and bought one off some guy, and then I ended up I'm now working for him. And yeah, we have this one new customer we took on there last year, and he says, I don't want my grass cut too short, but I also don't want my grass cut too high. I want it just perfect. It's like, the fuck does that mean? Like, I don't want it too long, but I don't want it too short. Really? Some people are really picky about their grass. It's insane.
City, in my opinion. You've got loads of cafes, loads of coffee shops, loads of pubs, really good food, really good restaurants. I definitely recommend you try a Yorkshire pudding wrap. I wish I took a picture of it because I don't have any pictures of it, but yeah, really tasty Yorkshire pudding wrap full of meat, gravy, perfect. And also try some scones, try an afternoon tea, and also check out York Minster as well, an absolutely stunning cathedral in the city. It's a really safe city too, but what I would say is don't expect crazy nightlife because it is a smaller city, so place than places like London, Birmingham, so you're not going to have an exciting nightlife scene compared to those places, but York is definitely a lovely place to visit. And so now my third favourite city in the UK is Manchester, and now this is a little controversial ranking Manchester over York and London, but I really like Manchester. It's a very vibrant city, very creative place, very youthful. It's a big student city, so the nightlife scene is excellent. Loads of restaurants, loads of bars, loads of cafes. There's lots of culture. Of course, Manchester is famous for its two football teams, Manchester United and Manchester City, so you can go and watch a game at either Old Trafford or the Etihad Stadium. You can also visit the National Football.
And when he's saying football, does he really mean soccer? Oh, he definitely does. Look they're not wearing no shoulder pads or helmets. So yeah, that's soccer here. But yeah, I've heard you guys call it football. Hence, football. But yeah, we call it soccer. I played soccer in public school. I was on a team.
Football museum as well. You've got great shopping too. You can either go to the Trafford Centre, which is
never did play football though. That sport just confuses me. I did it in high school. We had to do it for, not that I was on a team or anything, just as part of gym class. And it is just a horrible game where you just keep starting over and over and over again. Oh, we got to set back up, start over. Oh, set back up, start over. I liked baseball. I liked basketball. I liked soccer. Football just drove me nuts. Our football, not your football. I like your football.
Tram ride away from the city centre. You can also go to the Arndale shopping centre in Manchester city centre as well. And Manchester is also famous for its Christmas markets. It's arguably got the best Christmas market in the UK, so if you are visiting around Christmas time, you can definitely check that out. I also definitely recommend that you check out the Northern Quarter for cafes and bars too. It is a very trendy area, and also what I will say is that people from Manchester are very, very friendly. I found Mancunians to be some of the friendliest people in the entire country, so you will have a good time with the locals up there. But what I would say about Manchester is that it may not look very pleasing on the eye to you. The city centre is quite nice, the architecture is quite nice, but it's not the best in the country, and especially outside of the city centre, it can look a bit rough around the edges, so just be aware that architecturally speaking, it isn't the best in the country, but I really do like the city itself. It is a cool city. And now then, my second favourite UK city is the capital of Scotland, Edinburgh. Edinburgh is one
Edinburgh.
of the most spectacular places, not just in the UK, but in Europe. The architecture is stunning. Lots of this quality Gothic architecture throughout the city. It is very quintessentially Scottish, yet extremely cosmopolitan. You'll meet tourists and travellers from all over the world in Edinburgh. You also have a fantastic food scene. Definitely make sure you try some haggis. It is a Scottish
I've never had
delicacy,
haggis,
and you should definitely try some.
I'm not exactly 100% sure what haggis is. Is it not sheep's stomach or something? Or am I completely wrong on that? But it doesn't sound very appealing, and no, I've never tried it. That looks like potatoes and gravy, and is that haggis on top of it, is it? Is that potatoes and gravy? Or is... I'm not sure. But no, I've never tried haggis. It's not really a thing over here.
Certainly recommend that you check out Edinburgh Castle. It's
That looks really cool. I've probably seen that before. I'm most likely. But that looks like a nice castle. That's a big
one
one.
of the top things to do in the city. The city is really green as well. You have lots of green spaces. You've got museums, you've got art galleries, you've got fantastic views across the city if you go up to Calton Hill. You have really good nightlife as well, lots of pubs, bars, clubs as well. The city centre is really safe as well, but I guess two disadvantages of Edinburgh would be the fact that it can get very, very overcrowded with tourists, especially in the summer, and also it's quite pricey as well, to be honest. And now finally, that leads me on to my favourite UK city, my number one UK city, and that
It's Bristol! That was my grandfather, not obviously the one I've mentioned before. My mother's father, she was adopted. That's their last name right there. 100% spelt the same way and everything. I found out in one of my last videos, I found out there's a town over there called Bristol. Or no, someone mentioned Bristol Castle. And I mentioned in the comments that my grandfather's last name, well, even my mother's last name was Bristol, I guess, until she got married. And yeah, I imagine then my grandfather's family is also from over there, but I never knew that. I didn't really know where they were from. But anyhow, I'm assuming that's where his last name came from, is from being over there and from over there, but I also could be completely wrong about it because I am completely wrong about a lot of things. So, anyhow, let's get on with number 1, Bristol.
Bristol. Now, I may be a little bit biased because I did study at Bristol for 3 years, but I think Bristol is the best city in the UK, at least in my view. You've got fantastic architecture throughout the city. It's a very vibrant place, lots of students about. You do have a great nightlife scene there with lots of bars and clubs, but also you can easily escape that because Bristol is a very green city, lots and lots of parks, lots of hills that you can walk up to get some nice views of the city. Now, that can be a bit of a disadvantage because Bristol is very hilly, so make sure you bring your walking boots if you're going to visit. And you certainly need to visit the Clifton Suspension Bridge, which is Bristol's most iconic building. You'll see it all over the internet when you type Bristol into your search engine. You can take some really iconic...
Oh, did I just mute it? Didn't mean to mute it. Let's turn that back off. That is pretty sweet. Is that just a walking bridge? It is pretty cool, though.
Iconic postcard-esque pictures of the bridge. When you are there, you get some lovely views. I certainly do recommend that you check out the Clifton neighbourhood of the city because the architecture there is really stunning. You've got lots of lovely cafes, coffee shops and restaurants that you can check out. But I must say that Bristol is on the pricier side. It is quite an expensive city. However, you've got lots of culture. If you didn't know, Banksy is actually from Bristol, so you've got lots of artwork and graffiti work throughout the city.
Yeah, I was kind of noticing that the graffiti is really crazy there. Like, I want to go back a little bit. Is that a can of soup? That looks like a can of Campbell's soup. Oh, that's actually pretty funny. But yeah, the graffiti is really nice. I was looking at it, I was like, wow, that's some really nice graffiti, and then he mentions it, so I was like, do they just let them do this here? Like, they don't get in trouble for this?
is on the pricier side. It is quite an expensive city. However, you've got lots of culture. If you
10 years of inspired graffiti.
didn't know, Banksy is actually from Bristol, so you've got lots of artwork and graffiti work throughout the city. There really is a thriving arts culture and
Huh! That's cool too. You got Tetris right here. Angry Birds. Google Maps. So these are all apps. This whole thing is just little eBay. Somebody loves their cell phone, don't they?
music scene in the city. But one disadvantage again of Bristol is that it is a city known for its protests. You will see a lot of protests if you do spend enough time in the city, so that is one thing to be aware of. But other than that, I do think.
And what exactly are they protesting all the time? If they protest all the time, the government?
That Bristol is my favourite city in the United Kingdom. Now, do be aware that I haven't been to every city and town in the UK, so I can't judge every single place, and I haven't been to places like Bradford, Hull, Swansea, and so on and so on, so I'm sorry that those places aren't in the list. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure that I particularly want to go to those kind of places anyway. But yeah, that would be my list.
And why doesn't he want to go to those kind of places? Is it because of crime? Probably that's what he'd say. They're too crime-ridden for me.
Of these 33 towns and cities in the UK that I've been to. Again, do drop a comment if you disagree or if you agree with anything that I've said, and also do let me know your list of your favourite towns and cities in the UK in your order of preference, because it'll be very interesting to compare lists between people. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, for free you can subscribe to the channel. It really does help my channel out, so make sure you do click that subscribe button and also click the thumbs up, click that like button as well. It really does help.
You're listening to him, right? Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. New York on her shirt, on her belly shirt.
Promote the video and click the notification bell to get notified when I release my latest video. So thanks a lot for watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video. As a British citizen.
What the hell did I do there? Okay, we're still here. Yeah, that wasn't too bad at all. I'm sorry I rambled on a lot about a lot of things that really had nothing to do with the video we're watching. I sometimes get off topic, and then I just even sometimes wander farther off topic to the point where I don't even know where I started. But yeah, that's the ADHD part of me. Like I said, I could talk forever. But yeah, I would kind of agree with that, I guess. I didn't get to see enough of the towns, but most of the places over there look really nice. Like, I haven't seen any shitholes or anything that's really, I would say like, oh, I don't want to go. Like he said, there's some towns that he doesn't really want to go see, and I'm thinking that's to do with crime, because he seems like he says a lot of these places have crime. Or just too much of it happening out in public and stuff. Here we got the police right here in the background. But yeah, I really, really do want to go over there and check out this place. I'd like to spend not just go check it out. I'd like to go move over there for a couple years. And then maybe even stay. Who knows? Like, maybe not even come back. But I don't think I would want to live in a town, though. I really like the houses that are out of town, the old stone houses with all the stone fences and lots of space and great scenery. Oh, it would be so nice to live in one of those places and just relax. Yeah, I think that your guys is got great scenery out there. Like, it's just so amazing. Yeah, and there's so much to see over there, like so much history. So much going on for the tourists, because you guys must get a lot of tourists, especially like London looks like it was just swamped with tourists. Maybe even too many tourists at times. But anyhow, let's finish this video off. And like I said, this is Traveling with Con. I'm gonna give him a like. He's only got 166 likes now. He's had this video up for 5 months, so I'm gonna give him subscribe too. Maybe I'll have some other videos I might want to check out. And if you want to give him a like, subscribe, comment, I'm sure he'd love it. And if you don't, well, it's a free world. Do whatever you want, really. And other than that, I'm going to end this video. So I just want to say you guys have yourselves a great day. And if you've made it this far, you're very dedicated. You're a trooper. And I want to thank you. And I want to let you say have a great day. And I hope you check out another one of my videos. All right. Bye for now.